This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from Red Cedar Chamber Music, Mary Kim and Carrie Boston. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to see you guys off and running with the new season.
Yep.
That begins in the coming days with Czech Strings. Before we talk about dates, tell me a little bit about the program, Czech Strings.
So we're really excited about this program. It's inspired by Czech composers and Czech music. So there are a few traditional pieces, but in general, it's a very varied selection of music. People are loving it. We've actually already launched. We started performing on September 23rd. So we've been visiting a lot of sites around Marion, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City. And you want to tell them a little bit about the pieces on the program, Carrie?
The first piece that we really designed the program around is the last piece on the program, and it's a Martinu duo for violin and cello. It's his second duo, and Martinu was a person who was born on the border of Bohemia and Moravia, and throughout his career held on to that folk music in his own composition. And he was in Paris in 1923. You know, the world was going crazy. There was, all sorts of composers were going different directions, and of course, what was going on in the jazz world in Paris. So he was exposed to tremendous diversity in the music world. But his early compositions, which were what I was familiar with, all had this Czech flavor and brilliant works. And this duo we had on our list, and we got started working on it, built the program around it, and realized that it sounded American. So I looked him up, and sure enough, he was in Paris till 1941, and when the Germans invaded, he had to come to America. And this piece was written the year before he died. He spent most of those 18 years at the end of his life in America. And even though there's definitely some Czech folk music influence there, there's also Copland and Barber and just distinctly American sounds. So what ended up happening was the program became this, we have a composer, Antonín Kraft, who was born in the Czech Republic, ended up being Haydn's principal cellist and studied composition with Haydn, worked a lot with Haydn and Beethoven. So we have this Czech composer that sounds like Haydn or Beethoven, kind of. And then the other true Czech composer is Ševčík, who was a great violin teacher. Actually, he was the teacher of Ephraim Zimbalist, who taught at the Curtis Institute. And Zimbalist was the teacher of Jascha Brodsky, who taught at the Curtis Institute. And Mira Kim studied with Jascha Brodsky.
Oh, okay.
At the
So
Curtis
he's like your grandpa.
Yeah, like
Great-grandpa.
great-grand teacher. My direct line to the legends.
So we've all known about Ševčík, string players who play these cruel
Dry
exercises.
exercises.
That people call it a torture book, or that's what students call this exercise. He had 26 opuses. And of those 26 opuses, 25 of them were torture, and one of them was a set of 6 Bohemian airs and dances. Well, so we chose one of the dances.
Yeah, there's an episode titled "Torture Book." There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
So, is the music of Czech composers, is it influential all over? Of course, we talked a little bit about Ševčík, or is this a little bit more because of where we live in Iowa, where we have a very large Czech heritage in our part of eastern Iowa, and of course Dvorak in Spillville. So are we unusually tuned in to Czech composers?
I think we are because of where we are and because of who our audience is. We're partnering with the Czech Museum, and our final main stage concert is there. But really, as we've talked in the past, Dvorak, it's about culture. And what ended up happening with this program is that we realized that no matter where people are born and what music they listen to as children, it's where they end up, it's where they work, it's choices they make, and it's a tremendously, you know, this cultural diversity that happens within an individual, what their influences are. It's tremendously interesting, and so I think, you know, we designed a program of great music by Czech composers, and we ended up with you know, a human story, really, because these three composers all ended up spending a little bit of their time in Vienna and Salzburg, of course, in Prague, and with the exception of Kraft, all ended up in America.
But then we do have one American composer on the program, Warren Gooch, and he composed a piece called Three Fomanian Dances. So faux as in F-A-U-X.
Okay. Oh,
And
Fomania.
he even, because he loved Slavic music, and so he even wrote a little blurb about this idyllic land of Fomania. And it's quite humorous. And then he created three pieces that sound very Eastern European, but of course were written by this American man. And people have loved that. There's what would you call the first movement? Sort of a lilting dance to begin with, and then a very ethereal second movement, and then just a barnstormer
Oh, it's a raucous,
to finish out.
yeah, raucous
Yeah.
dance, yeah.
Talking with Mira and Carrie from Red Cedar Chamber about Czech Strings. I was going to say the upcoming, but you're already in progress.
We're in progress.
So you're in the middle of doing several concerts that end at the Czech Museum on, I think, the 15th, yes?
Yes.
Sunday, October 15th.
So tell me where you're going to be.
Well, we've done, I think, 8 of 16 performances.
Wow.
And today we're at Cottage Grove in Cedar Rapids, and tomorrow in Methwick. But our rural outreach concerts remaining are Saturday night in Ainsworth at the Ainsworth Opera House, and then that's the October 7th. And next week we have a partnership with the Lett Center for the Healing and Creative Arts in Washington, Iowa this year. And we are presenting all of our concerts in Washington, Iowa. So on Thursday, the 12th, we will be in Washington, Iowa, and play at a senior center, and then do an interactive arts event with the Lett Center
In the evening.
at the Lett Center in the evening. Then Friday, we're in Tipton, Iowa. Friday the 13th. Saturday evening, we're at First Presbyterian Church in Iowa City for a main stage concert, and then again Sunday at 3 p.m. at the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library.
Well, it sounds like a delightful program, as always, and several chances to see it. If you can't make any one of the concerts, then you're really, really busy because you have several options. If people want to look over the schedule and get tickets and stuff, they can come to your website, which is
www.redcedar.org.
All right, Mira Kim and Carrie Boston from Red Cedar Chamber. Thanks very much, and enjoy the remainder of your extensive Czech Strings tour.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.